So the name CleverX, what comes to mind when you hear it? Do you think of a company that'll specialize in market research and product research? Do you think of a company that has over 12,000 users on their platform currently? Do you think of a company that'll give you access to some of the world's leading business professionals when it comes to online surveys and video interviews? Well, if I haven't given it away for you, Sharekh certainly will in today's interview as he breaks down all things that the company entails, from really coming into business to really how the United States is not his first, not his second, not his third, but rather his fourth home, and why he moved here to really scale the business and what it has done for him and the company as well. But on top of that, he touches on a lot of fraud within the industry and how CleverX really combats that, and it'll give you the most authentic experience through and through. So how can this self-service platform be of assistance to you, your brand, or maybe someone that you know? Well, I'll let Sharekh do the explaining and I'll let you do the tapping in. So without further ado, enjoy episode 155, The Professional Identity. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner. Look, it's the best month of the year, man. We are here. We made it. We are finally making things happen, moving and grooving along. Had some slight hiccups come along the way, some slight adjustments and things that we had to make. But nonetheless, nothing stops the Down to Business podcast. Nothing stops the show. We just adjust, we realign, and we make it happen. So part of that realignment is why I'm sitting down with Sharekh today. So big shout out to him. Big shout out to the team over at Kitcaster just for really being able to connect us. And they have sent me some awesome recommendations since we really were able to get connected and get started. Sharekh being one of them. So I'm very excited for him to talk all things that he has going on, all things that he's done, all things that he's doing, and even tease some things that he will be doing. So before we get into anything further, Sharekh, how you doing today? How's everything on your end?
I'm doing great, Tamar, and thanks for having me here. Just got out of a flu last week, but I'm recovering, so I'm doing great
We're
right now. Yeah.
definitely sending you some prayers for an even speedier and healthier recovery. But glad to see you, glad to hear that you're doing well. I'm glad that you decided just getting over the flu to pop on with the Down to Business podcast. We're definitely grateful, definitely humble for that. So just to tell some people a little bit about you, just to get everybody on the same page. I know you're going to have some people tapping in from the Bay Area side. I know my Tampa, my East Coast people are going to tap in. I know we're going to have some people far and in between joining just the same. So can you, one, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then can you too just tell us what brings you on the Down to Business podcast today?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Sharekh Sheikh. I'm the founder and CEO of CleverX. CleverX is a audience platform for market research and product research teams where they can access the world's leading business professionals when it comes to conducting online surveys or video interviews. My personal background is I'm originally from India. Did my computer science engineering back in India, but worked in multiple countries all across the world. I spent a lot of time in Dubai, in Singapore. US would be my fourth home. So I moved here to grow the business and scale CleverX. And today we are doing incredibly well with over 12,000 users on the platform, and some of the world's biggest names using the platform, from the TikToks, the Snapchats, the Microsofts of the world. So pretty excited to be here. And why Down to Business? Of course, it's one of the best podcasts Kitcaster recommended us to be on, and I love the energy and the vibe on the podcast every time I listen to yours. So thank you so much for having me here, Tamar.
Absolutely. Look, the pleasure is all ours. And the fact that you like the energy, we're going to keep it going with this one right here. So, immediately, one of the first things that strikes me is okay, you said the United States is not one, not two, not three, but the fourth home. Wow, that's amazing. It really just goes to show what happens when you travel and you move around. But what initially I'll say what made you make that decision to come to the United States to scale, to grow, to was there something particular about kind of what was operating and what was going on over here at the time that you came over? Were you kind of trial and error in other places and you were just kind of not yielding the results that you wanted? Why the United States ultimately?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I've been traveling to the Bay Area and the US for many years now for work in general. Even when I was working for companies like Gartner back in the day. But one thing I've really appreciated about the Bay Area, and I can't speak for the entire United States, but for the Bay Area, is like people are super helpful and they've got a network here, which is always down to help upcoming founders. So the founder community is really really nice, and I can't appreciate them enough. for everything that they've given me. Also, it's a place where most of the world's biggest successful tech companies have been created or scaled. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, this is one place in the world where people want to help each other out without any kind of transactional benefit. And I think I've not seen that in many parts of the world. And the second important reason why Bay Area is a really good place is because it's almost like a college campus. It's so small, and in the physical space you end up meeting people, the same people, serendipitously, and a lot of things happen in those conversations when you end up meeting people. So those are a couple of things, and I personally feel like it's my tribe of people. People who are trying to build things, innovate, and trying to change things the way try to change things which were not the most efficient ways of doing things. So I guess those are primarily the reasons for me to be in the Bay Area. Yeah.
Very interesting. And I really like how you spoke from your personal experience about the transactional part, because I feel like, too, depending on who you speak to in the United States on our side, even some of the people who are part on the podcast, they would even probably challenge you and say the opposite. But I also would challenge them to say, well, have you been to the Bay Area? When were you in the Bay Area? What were you doing and everything? Because I feel like, too, now, especially since the pandemic started and just everything that we're doing and how we're moving, everything feels like it has to have a transaction, or everybody,
Yeah.
sometimes people are so reluctant to offer their services or offer what they do unless something comes in return. Or a lot of times, people won't even step foot or won't even ask about it. But the fact that you are essentially across the world, well, across the United States, let's just say, and you get a totally different vibe from people. You said it almost feels like a college campus where everybody's kind of just immersed. It really goes to show, too, how your opinion, your experience can also be about where you are, just proximity to things and people around you and what they're doing. To some, the West Coast, that vibe, that Silicon Valley, just everything that comes with it, everybody's used to that, just the startup culture, SAS, B2B, everything of the sort. But for others, where we're kind of just slowly getting the ball rolling or newer to the game, or may not have as many resources, or may not really be considered a tech hub, it may shy away, or it kind of scare them a little bit, or they may lose motivation because they just feel like somebody wants something from them one way or another. So very, 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 very interesting in that. Now, to hear about the platform, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said you guys are now over 12,000 users.
Yeah, we are over 12,000 users. Some of the world's biggest brands use our platform to conduct online research
Love
through online surveys and video interviews with these people. It's incredible to watch, the amazing things happening on the platform every day. Yeah.
Well, to 12 more thousand on the way. I definitely love to hear that. And I'm only excited to really see now that we're tapping in with CleverX and getting the know and everything. I just know it's going to keep on going up from there. Now,
Thank you very
something
much.
that I really, of course, something that I really want to dive into is kind of the origin of CleverX. Now, would you say that, obviously, we talked about two just companies that you worked for beforehand, just being in India, working in Dubai, coming back and forth to the Bay Area. Was there an immediate problem that you wanted to provide a solution for? Was there something that businesses, business owners, entrepreneurs, anybody were coming to you, even when you were working for these different companies, traveling to different places? Did you just notice things that you were just like, okay, I can fix this? Like, there's something, here's the issue, here's what's going on, Clever X. Like, walk me through that to really how
Yeah,
Clever X was born.
absolutely. So I used to work for a company called as Gartner. Gartner is one of the largest technology research companies in the world. They advise the biggest conglomerates, governments, banks around the world on how to make proper decision making, and a lot of it comes from conducting research with chief information officers, CTOs, head of application infrastructure all around the world. One thing I noticed while working at Gartner, where Gartner spent millions of dollars every month on conducting online surveys, was traditional way of doing online surveys is companies such as Gartner, Microsoft pay 100, 150, $200 for one complete successful online survey of a senior business professional. But the challenge is that market is very fraudulent in nature, where 40% of the money is wasted on fraud. What I mean by that, uh, all these online survey outcomes that companies receive, because of some players or unreliable players in the equation, they do not want to disclose the names of these individuals or professionals. So I might get a successful response, but I don't know it was from Tamar, right? And we wanted to completely flip that. So we built a platform which looks very much like a LinkedIn, where people can connect with each other. And these are all very senior business professionals. And you, as a researcher, have the access to all these people their true identity or true professional identities, and you can invite them to participate in your surveys. So that solves the problem of identity and fraud. So we've cut down that 40% fraud to 0% on every single project that happens on our platform. So customers are really excited and happy to use something which gives them the confidence and the quality of research outcomes using our platform.
40% is a high number.
40% is the number. It can go up to 50% as well. So there are people in different parts of the world, without naming countries, where their full-time job is taking online surveys on behalf of other people. And so it's a very black market kind of industry that's there, and nothing has changed for the last, what, 30, 40, 50 odd years in the B2B space. And B2B, people make major multi-million, multi-billion dollar decisions based on that research. But if you don't know who's participated in your research, it's a big problem in my view, and I think companies understand that. And that's why we've seen a growth of 5x in the last 1 year on the platform. Yeah.
And it almost kind of reminds me too of how I think about when you used to log into certain websites or click certain things, you used to just be able to get right in, like no two-factor authentication. Now I feel like when you're logging in, it's the two-factor, then it's to prove you're not a robot. So you got to select the dots or
Yeah.
the bicycles or the traffic lights and everything. And it's just like, wow, like in the moment, or when it really first started, it was just like this seems so tedious, or just this seems so unnecessary. And then sometimes you miss some squares, and you got to start all over, and you got to go back. And it's like, wow, this is really me. Like, what's going on? But now you just kind of opened up another perspective for me that there are people out there who their literal job, their main objective, what they wake up and do every day is just take surveys on behalf of others. So you're not really getting that genuine, that authentic interaction. And I feel like too, a lot of what companies model things off of, base things off of, how they make improvements, how they take things away, add things, are off of feedback. It's so many times now where it wasn't until I really started working certain jobs that were not necessarily survey based, but feedback really helped and really challenged and altered how you kind of move that. Now it's just like, wow, well, is that their direct feedback? Was that something that they said? Did they kind of just click through some things and not really ask? Did they really write this
Yeah.
out or everything? So it really made me even become that much more intentional about just giving feedback, just the hospitality, just the experience,
Yeah.
just really rating things. Because it's just like your one survey may not necessarily change the whole entire trajectory. But imagine your one survey, 10 more,
Yeah.
20 more, 30 more, 40 more. And like you said, slowly but surely tackling that 40%. Okay. So now we're at the CleverX. Now you pretty much, like we said, we found that problem. We found that people were kind of slipping through the cracks and things were not really as authentic. We narrowed down that 40%, we dropped it. How really was the word of CleverX getting out to others? What was really the marketing like? How were you appealing to other businesses? Because like you said, you guys have some pretty big companies and users under your belt. How did all that come to be?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. One thing I've learned is, running this company, if you build a product that's really, really valuable, and you have even one or two customers starting off using the product, and when they see the value, where they feel like, wow, this is something that we've never experienced before, and it gives us what we want, in the best way possible, in the most reliable way possible. A lot of our customers are referral based, so it's a very organic growth, that we've seen. And that also was one of the things that I didn't want to do, was spend money on marketing and buy customers, because what happens in that approach of running a startup is you start assuming that your product is being used because your product is good, but you've actually spent a lot of money on marketing. So it's not a true sense of finding product market fit until it is organic, until it is your existing customers spending more money every single month, until it's referrals coming from your existing customers without you asking for them. So I think those were the reasons for us to do well, and I think we're solving a very big pain, for the industry. It's a $55 billion market, out of which $25 billion in the US is spent on B2B market research. So it's a massive market. It's grown almost 100% in the last 7 to 8 years. So there's a lot of need right now, be it startups, small companies, or large enterprises, to conduct research to make important decisions. Because at the end of the day, a company, if there are two similar companies trying to solve a similar problem, and go after the same set of customers, the company which has an edge over information is the winner, in the future. And I think companies have realized that. Senior managements are realizing it more and more. And we are giving that to them. We are giving that insight which they cannot get from anywhere, because before they had to go on LinkedIn and convince a stranger to participate in a survey, and that's a very, very frustrating and tedious task. So I think that's the problem we're trying to solve, which is painstaking and takes a lot of time to fix.
Yeah, almost. It really sounds like too. Y'all are really just trying to eliminate that middleman, eliminate the extra, the excess that comes with that, and really just get straight from source to source. So that's
Exactly.
amazing. And I can see that, as a senior person, as a senior professional, as somebody as experienced too, everything that you think about having to build just your business, just that foundation, just the brand, everything that comes with it, man. It's good days, it's bad days, it's highs, it's lows. It's a roller coaster, truly.
Yeah.
So to have a product, to have a service, to have a software or platform that can ease that, alleviate things, take some worry off of me. Oh, you're speaking my language now. So now I'm more so focusing on these experienced professionals. Okay. I think about a lot has changed in the
Yeah.
business world, the tech world, everything of the sort. When it comes to even work, like workspace, remote, hybrid, man, these are terms that back then growing up, we didn't think about. We thought about a 5-day work week. And that was really Monday through Friday, you get off the weekends, so forth and so on. What would you say has and is changing the most for senior professionals, for people, for these experienced business professionals who maybe came into business 10, 20 years ago when the pandemic wasn't even on the radar, to now having to adjust a little bit, to now having to cut through all, like you said, that LinkedIn and the inbox and then the snail mail and everything. What changes are they really experiencing and how is that affecting them?
Yeah, see, we've always been a remote company from day one, even before the pandemic. So for us, it wasn't anything different. So we were operating the way we were operating before and in the middle or after the pandemic. But what we've learned from interacting with thousands of users and the, you know thousands of transactions that have happened over the platform is people have realized during the pandemic that work from home is a good option even for senior business professionals. But being said that, it's not necessarily aligning with a lot of companies to have a purely work from home model. So you've seen this news around Meta or Google asking their employees to come back to work again. I personally think the future is going to look like a hybrid model, because people had a taste of work from home. So they do understand that I can do this work from home, but there are going to be a few days every week where you'll have to go to office, because there's definitely magic or serendipity at work when you have those water cooler conversations. And just having conversations over Zoom is a very agenda driven conversation, so you don't really get to into other conversations or new ideas pop up over Zoom calls. So I think there's a value in both. From an employee standpoint, you get additional time with your family, and you cut down on your commute. Getting up, dressing up, and saving that time for a few days over the week. And the other few days, you should spend time. This is my view, which is you should spend time with your other colleagues and people at work or peers, so that you can have those brainstorming sessions, or even just have uh, the social circle, even because a lot of people felt um, kind of depressed at the time of pandemic as well. And we can see that. So I believe that's what the future is going to look like in the coming years. There's going to be two contrarian views, one being some companies are going to be like, no, we are 100% full time in the physical office. And some companies are going to be hybrid, but hybrid would be the major chunk of businesses, how they're going to operate. Yeah.
I know some people's eyes lit up when you said the future is going to be hybrid. Because I know so many people that are hybrid are not trying to go back. Some jobs are trying to force you back, and it's just so much in between. And I feel like we didn't really, unless you, like you said, unless you really came into business being remote. That's how it was pre-pandemic. That's not something that you were used to. So I know a lot of people, when they got that freedom, when they got that experience, when the office was shipping you your supplies and stuff home, and you were setting up the office, it was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
I can do this. We should have been doing this. So that's very exciting. But okay, so now to shift back over to CleverX a little bit, would you say that what you guys do is industry specific? Like, are there just certain businesses? Are there certain industries? Are there certain niches that you guys just cannot serve? Or would you say that in some capacity, in some form or fashion, CleverX could be useful no matter what you do in a sense?
Yeah. So, horizontally speaking, any company that wants to conduct online surveys or video interviews with senior business professionals, is a customer for CleverX. But being said that, we've been very focused on market researchers and product managers or user researchers as a primary persona who uses the platform, because it's their bread and butter. This is what they do day in, day out, and they want to talk to people to improve their product services. In general, get that feedback to make those important decisions. What we're noticing on the platform is technology is one of the most sought after expertise, and by technology I mean senior technology professionals like CIOs, CTOs, people coming from the backgrounds as head of application, head of infrastructure, head of architecture and technology. The other vertical that we are seeing a lot getting picked up is AI right now. So ChatGPT has created that trend all around the world. A lot of companies are paying attention to that and trying to explore how they can leverage AI within their organizations, especially in large organizations. The other verticals I feel which are picking up, or we see as an industry in terms of growth in research, is HR. So it's huge. Again, going back to the whole pandemic hybrid, people are still trying to figure those things out. And the third one would be marketing and sales, because the way the macros are structured right now, people are trying to change the way they're marketing. They're trying to change the way sales is happening. So I think some of those will change over time, depending on the way the macro trends are. But mostly speaking, I think technology is one of the leading verticals that we see where people use the platform the most.
Technology, man, no matter how much we try to avoid it, duck and dodge, it's here.
Yeah.
It's there. It's forever changing. There are things that we spoke about that to some it seemed fictitious, to some it seemed never in a million years, that are happening right in front of our eyes, that are continuously happening, man. So I love to hear that. I love how diverse you can be. I love how flexible it can be, because I definitely do think that that's almost the word of the decade, the word of the century: flexibility, man. How can you adapt but still serve, but still be versatile, but be here, but be there, but help out? Because focusing on, I think we've reached the point in time where we realize focusing on just one thing, one business, one service, one craft, it'll do you well. It can do you great numbers, but when you add more, when you keep those options open, when more opportunities come, it only continues to allow you to scale and go further. So just to break things down for some people listening, for some people tapping in now, when it comes to these surveys, when it comes to this market research, when these companies are reaching out to you to take on what CleverX has to offer, would you say that they're coming to you with already with a blueprint? You guys are just kind of helping distribute and break things down and make sense of it? Would you say that sometimes they come to you with nothing at all and you structure something for them? Would you say it's a combination of both? Like, where most of the companies that are coming to you to utilize your product, utilize your services, distribute out to their market research and essentially, or sales or marketing or tech or anything, what are you actually doing for them as far as products and services go?
Yeah, great question. So just take a step back, how does research work, right? So let's assume you're trying to conduct an online survey to understand the use case of ChatGPT in enterprise, and you want to talk to 100 CIOs of how they might want to use ChatGPT in their enterprise. What these companies do is start off by building a survey on tools like Qualtrics, Confirm It, Typeform, Survey Monkey. And once those surveys are designed properly, they know that these are the kind of questions, open-ended, close-ended questions we want to get answered within a 10 to 15 minutes time frame of taking up a survey. They bring that survey within our platform. So our platform is a very self-service based platform. So as a researcher, you can log into the platform, bring your survey wherever it is hosted. So we are our platform supports any kind of survey that is hosted on Qualtrics or Typeform. You can connect it directly into our platform, and from there you can choose the audience, that those 100 people that you wanted to talk to, and invite them to that particular project. So you can actually identify who these 100 people are or 200 people are, and you can even have the flexibility to chat with these people. So the platform allows you to connect with each other. So people use it to message their participants or respondents before they even invite them to these surveys. Once that these are the 100 200 people that you want to bring onto this chat gpt for enterprise survey. You send them an invitation in a few minutes, and they all get notifications that they're invited to participate on this survey, and the company is going to pay them, let's say, $100 for participating on that survey. If the that professional feels like it's a good valuable amount of time, for 15 minutes they can make $100, they opt in to say yes to that, and then they participate in the survey. Once the survey is recorded successfully, they directly get paid into their bank account or on the dashboard on the platform. So it's a very clean, flow from the time you invite or recruit these participants for your survey to making those payouts to them, and getting the job done. So all of this process that I mentioned to you traditionally would take weeks for a market researcher to complete. But after the survey design is done, now CleverX has cut down that time from weeks to minutes. And you can actually get that job done, in minutes, and just sit back and get the responses rolled in into your dashboard.
Wow, I like that. That's cool, and I really like that too because, and I think a lot of people will resonate with it just the same because it's expedited.
Yeah.
We think so often how some things take so long, and why a lot of times we don't want to give the feedback or sign up or reach out is because of the turnaround time. And by the time you may hear back, it's like you may have lost interest, or you may have went somewhere else, or the issue may not even be an issue anymore. Who knows? Or you may even be moved on past it. So the fact that you can get in there, you can cipher through a lot of different things and almost in a sense filter what's relevant to you, what's relevant to others and those around you, and then you can have it like that. And then yeah, $100 in 15 minutes, even if that's for the sake of example, that doesn't sound bad at all. So I really, really, really do like that. And it really just sounds like it takes everything and it just simplifies it. It breaks it down and simplifies it. And like we said, it slashes out everything that was in between, all that extra noise, because that's where I feel like a lot of things get lost in
Yeah.
translation these days with businesses, with SaaS platforms and everything. It's just, it becomes some miscommunication or becomes that back and forth or emails or DMs or messages and everything. And after that, who knows? And by the time we're 2 weeks in, a month in, and the issue is still just prolonged, it could have amplified. The possibilities are endless in a sense. So look, to all my people out there listening, my survey people, even the people who are trying to great in the company culture, to improve upon it, to even just take in the feedback that you get within your own business and everything like that, and hone in on it. Tap in, man. So speaking along the lines of company culture now, as somebody who has been able to build this, as somebody who's been able to travel so many places, like he said, y'all, the United States is the fourth home. The fourth. For some of us, that's our first. For myself, that's my first home. So thinking about this, thinking about coming back and forth to the Bay Area, Dubai, everything of the sort, what are some gems for my business owners, for my entrepreneurs, for my senior professionals, for everybody tapping in around building a great and amazing a company culture, somewhere where people wake up every day and they're excited and ecstatic to get to
Yeah,
work?
a great question. I've been really lucky that I had some incredible managers when I used to work for other companies. The last company that I worked for before starting CleverX was Gartner, which is an incredible company when it comes to culture. So they treat their people really, valuable. And I think that's the same thing that I wanted to bring in when I started the company. So there are a couple of things that we do very differently at CleverX. Is if you do not feel like coming to work today, and you don't have to put in a sick leave. You can actually say to your manager or to me that, hey, I'm not in the mood to work today, and it will be a paid leave. So the reason we do that is, so people don't have to lie about how they feel. And I think it's a really important thing. I believe at work that people don't have to be sly to get a vacation or get a day off. And I think that's really really important. So those small things define cultures in company. The other thing is, we care a lot about integrity and being respectful to each other. There are a lot of debates that happen within the company, so having the uh, a disagreement is fine with us, but being disrespectful is not. So you can be disagreeable, but you don't have to be disrespectful, and that happens in a lot of companies. I've seen that in the past where people get disrespectful for having a disagreement, and that shouldn't be the case, right? So the goal is to work on a mission which is very clearly defined, and you know where you're heading as a team. That brings in that energy in one direction for all the employees. I think those are the few things that we are really proud of at building at CleverX, and I believe this is how exactly how every employee at CleverX feels like too. Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, y'all, he said this is CleverX's philosophy. Don't go calling your job tomorrow, telling your manager you don't feel like coming in. That's not happening. Okay, I absolutely, Shark. I love that. That's amazing. Even I think about some jobs that I've worked, and I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. That yes, I've called times out sick, and I wasn't sick at all, or I've had to put in vacation, and it was for something else, or family emergencies, or everything like. But to hear, and it really just makes you in the moment uneasy, but it also just makes you feel like I know for a fact if I don't give them something viable, something that makes sense, they're not going to allow it to happen. But with y'all, you really let's just even the playing field here. Let's just keep it real. And I feel like that in the moment, just hearing that, it tells me one thing. But I also know that culture has to be outstanding. Like it just has to. People wake up and you don't have to hide, or you don't have to put on like a coat or mask yourself. You can really be authentically you every day and know that you have managers, know that you have higher ups, CEOs, CFOs, COOs that support it 100%. Man, that's amazing to just hear everybody come under that umbrella. Yeah, we're gonna have to look, y'all. Everybody putting in a job application at CleverX. We're gonna make the 12,000 users 24,000. We're gonna make it happen. But I really do think that even and keep in mind also, you said those are just some things that you do. I know that it's a host more, and I know that even as time moves on, you'll change, you'll adapt, you'll make things happen as you bring on new people, as you hit different places and spaces. You'll do that. So no, from me to you, keep that
Thank you
up,
very much.
please. We need that. But like I said, y'all, that's CleverX. That's not everything else. So talk to Shar, talk to the CleverX team, and we can figure out how to build and brand that. Because even some of the things that he spoke about today, we can implement these in our own businesses, in our own entrepreneurial journeys, and in our own startups, companies, everything of the sort. So now, thinking about your users, thinking about 12,000 users out there, individual, collective, everything. Would you say that CleverX is really honing in and focusing on certain areas, certain places? I know we said that the United States, that's really where you came to scale, to grow. You really loved just the Bay Area, being on the West Coast, and just everything that came with that vibe. But would you say now, as being in business for quite some time, for amassing these amount of users, amassing this amount of success, and really learning the game when it comes to marketing and technology and the entrepreneurial side of things, are you kind of confining yourself to certain areas? Are you really just trying to make this a global thing? What does that look
Yeah, so
like along
yeah,
the lines of
for
trajectory? Yeah.
long-term view is to unbundle LinkedIn in the sense that all these conversations about people requesting each other to participate in a survey, be it a paid or a unpaid survey, is happening on LinkedIn on those messages, right? But the challenge with LinkedIn is you don't trust the other person because you don't know them, and there is no monetization mechanism, which means that if I asked you, Tamar, to participate in a survey and we don't know each other, even if I'm ready to pay you money seriously, you will not probably take out 15 minutes to do that before you see the money. So that's a problem with platforms or social platforms like LinkedIn. What we want to give our users is trust and monetization mechanism, which gives them the guarantee that they're going to get paid for the time that they're spending to complete a survey successfully, or be on a call with someone to give them advice or insights. And I think that's a fundamental thing why we believe that we could be the company which will unbundle that part of LinkedIn, where these on-demand work opportunities that are happening on LinkedIn behind the scenes, not just applying to jobs, will be on happening on our platform. So that's from a long-term view is where we are heading as a company. But right now we are focused on market research as an industry because it solves their pain. We've given them all the tools to get that job done, and we're focused very much on the U.S. market. So out of probably our 12,000 users, close to 85-90% of the users would be from the US, and the others would be from Europe, Middle East, Asia. But that's not our primary focus. Our primary focus being US and US customers, US user base.
I love it. I love it a lot. Okay. So talked about the future now, talked about the trajectory, talked about growth. Now you're in the tech space. Technology is, as we said, it's unavoidable at this point. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. You have to touch it in some form or fashion. Even the most non-tech savvy people are using tech. My grandmother, I wouldn't say she's not tech savvy, but my grandmother has an
Wow,
iPhone now, so she's using the emojis. She's texting me,
that's
calling,
cool.
FaceTiming me, sending the videos. So it's amazing just to see. And she told me that this really started because she went to look at something on her phone and they told her that she was eligible for an upgrade, which sounds about right for most of our grandparents. I think all of our grandparents are probably eligible for upgrades. They're just, if it ain't broke, don't
Yeah.
fix it type thing now. But with being in this industry, it's hard. It's not easy, especially where you are. West Coast, everybody is doing something from a startup to a business to entrepreneurial journey to working for tech companies to combining to selling to they're doing everything. What does it really take to be successful in the tech industry, to be an entrepreneur in this tech field? It's not, it's more than just, as we talk about a lot of different entrepreneurs, just the late nights, the early mornings, just the grind, just the consistency, just everything. I feel like that no matter what, that's going to be
Yep.
universal. But for the tech industry specifically, for everything that's happening, for the direction that we're moving in, the meta, the chat GPTs, everything, how do you, one, stay up to date with everything, stay ahead of the curve, and then still be successful and put out amazing products at
Yeah,
the
I
same
think
time?
it's really important to not give in to the media narrative. So there's a lot that happens on the media narrative where people think success is like raising around with a venture capitalist, and that's not true. Almost 80 to 90% of those companies die because you're kind of forced to grow at any cost and make the returns for the investors who have put in that money. I think the most important thing any new entrepreneur should consider is trying to meet people in the space that they are working in to understand what they've learned over the past probably a decade, 2 decades. What's new? What's changing? So what personally do is every month, I meet a bunch of founders who are either at a similar stage or ahead of me in the journey, and just learn from them and talk to them. Not necessarily every advice is going to be the right advice for you, but you get to hear a different perspective, and that's good enough. The other thing I would also suggest people to do is, especially the ones who are starting off companies or have an idea, is to quickly go and talk to the user base that you're going to serve. Spending time with your users and customers is one of the most important things you can do before even touching your computer to write a line of code. Just learning about them, their day to day, what are the problems they face. If there's this thing about problems where there are some problems that needs fixing and there are some problems you just need to let go. People, unfortunately, there have been a lot of companies that are created for problems that really don't need fixing, and I think understanding how bad a problem is equally important than knowing what the problem is. So those are a few suggestions I would have for anyone who's just starting off the journey. Is just to meet people from the industry, be it traditional or from the tech world. Spend more time in understanding from your users, and like giving it a thought deeply about every single thing that you hear. Note it down. Be thoughtful about understanding if this problem really is such a big problem for someone to be solved, where people are going to take out money from their wallets and pay you to solve that problem for them. And I think that's a big everything else is secondary, raising around or getting money. Of course it's required to grow a company, but I think until unless you haven't figured that out, where you know what you're going to spend your next 5 to 10 years on, is really important, because you're going to go through ups and downs every day. The most important thing for a founder is not necessarily these tactical problems, but it's about managing your own emotions on a day-to-day basis. So if you can get good at that, it's more like a muscle memory thing. If you can get good at that, uh, that's a big win for any individual. Be if your startup is successful or doesn't go to that place where you wanted it to be, but at least you've learned a very important life skill, doing that. So those would be my, few cents of advice here.
And you really say a few, but man, that was loaded. So I encourage anybody who's listening, who just heard that, who's tapping into that, who's watching that, just rewind a little bit. Don't even really listen to me, like what I'm saying right now. Just rewind this part back like 2 minutes, because that was very insightful. Just from the perspective of two, one, you use the word perspective, but about two, meeting people where they are. And I feel like oftentimes that is where we miss the mark as business owners, as entrepreneurs, creatives. It's just like we're so focused on what we bring to the table, what we have to offer, what we do. what the company is. Oh, we're the best at this. We're doing this. Look at the numbers. Check the score. But oftentimes, some people don't even need to hear all of that. Some people don't need all the extremities, all the accolades. They just need to say, hey, I have this problem. What can CleverX? What can Down the Business? What can you guys do to help solve it, to help alleviate it? Because I'm waking up every day. I'm stressing out my employees. My culture isn't great. The tech industry feels like it's just leaving us in the dust, and I don't know what's going on. So I also feel like one of the biggest things that you said, knowing your audience, knowing who you're in front of, knowing who you're marketing to, and taking their perspective. Sometimes you're not always going to necessarily be able to help people right away or just give a solution or just have something right for them. Sometimes you need to take what they say, take it back, learn. It's like you said, you make it a business and a point of your own to learn from like-minded and professionals around you just the same. You don't know everything.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
don't know everything, but we'd be remiss to just think that, oh, because we have 12,000 users, oh, because I have almost 18,000 plays, that, oh, this is it. This is, I got it. I got it down. No, you can always learn, because we can then 10x these users, 10x these plays, and really make things easier on ourselves. So, no, I really think, if you're still listening to me, rewind, go back, go back, go back, go back to what he just said. No, but I really do like that, because it's so important, and it's so important because it's universal. No matter what industry you're in, no matter what niche, it all can apply in its own way. So before we tell people where to find you, where to tap in, where to make these hundreds and hundreds of dollars in 15 minutes, I'm just kidding, do all that. Do you feel like there's anything that we haven't touched on? Any even last words that you want to leave for the business owners out there, for the entrepreneurs, for the senior professionals, for people in the tech space, anything like that?
Yeah, I
Give
think
me what you got.
the most important thing is just personal management. I strongly believe that every founder, entrepreneur, your business is a reflection of you. And sometimes it's a good reflection, sometimes it's a bad one, and it all depends on us, like how we feel and how we operate and what kind of mindset we are in on a day-to-day basis. So just managing that, and being stoic about it, because it's a daily battle with 10 different things that you don't think about that are going to come your way, is the most important thing. Everything else will fall into the place, like you rightly said. Everyone is smart and hardworking today. A lot of people are, and what differentiates really successful people is this mindset where they don't get bogged down by problems when they face. So just having that skill set is probably the most valuable thing I would suggest anyone to work on. Everything else will fall into place once you get there, but you only get there by failing. You don't get there by if you're lucky, you probably have that already, but there are very few people in the world probably who can say that. But just keep failing at it and not be discouraged and disheartened by problems, and keep at it, and you'll start seeing those results as with time.
Persistency
Yeah.
and consistency, man. It take you mountains and miles past anything that you could ever imagine. So I love that. So Shark, man, I definitely have to thank you. Have to really just say, to everything that you're doing, to everything that CleverX is doing, man, it's amazing. And even the perspective, even the insight, the gems that you dropped on us today, it can even change the way that I operate with the podcast. It can change the way that some business owners, some entrepreneurs, some creatives, anybody out there can operate or just move differently, or even just things to note, just things to learn from, even if you don't do anything more after this
Yeah.
interview but learn something. I think that's just as important. So now, before we officially wrap up, arguably one of the most important parts, where can people find you? Where can people tap in, learn a little bit more about CleverX, go to the website, everything like that?
Yeah,
We need it
absolutely.
all.
So to check out the platform, and it's free to sign up for anyone to be on the platform. And hopefully, if you have the skill sets and the expertise that the customers are looking for, you'll start getting those opportunities. We also have something called as opportunities page on the platform. Once you sign up, you can see a bunch of opportunities that you can participate in, if they fit your certain set of skill sets and expertise. So people can join and see if there's something that resonates with them. And it's called as cleverx.com. So cleverx.com. And for me, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active, I guess, and sometimes on Twitter. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you type my name with Sharekh, I think I should be hopefully in the first 3 or 5 hits. And please connect with me. Happy to share more things or answer any questions if someone has them. And on Twitter is Sharekh, Sharekh _ underscore. So you can just follow me there and probably connect with me there as well.
I love it. All right, y'all. Y'all heard it. Opportunities page is free. That's I know it's a lot of y'all. That's a lot of y'all's favorite F word next to food. Free. So go get it. He's not necessarily offering you any food right now, but he's giving you the opportunity to make some money to go get some food. So let's do all of that. But no, Sharekh, really, I thank you. Thank you so much. Like I said, one, just for being able to connect, really just for coming on the platform, just for what resonated with you, just about the energy and everything that we bring here on the Down to Business side. I love so much that you wanted to be a part of that. And I hope that this experience was amazing for you. But two, thank you for everything that you're doing, everything that you continue to do to the 12,000 plus people that you're blessing and helping on a daily basis, man. I'm very grateful for it. And to everybody on your side, to everybody on my side, even the newcomers, shout out to Kit Caster, everybody tapping in, listening, however you came across this episode. One, I thank you. I love you. This has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner.